Harold Mitchell had lived in the same little blue house for nearly 40 years. The porch swing still creaked the same way it had when his wife Eleanor used to sit there every evening with a glass of sweet tea. But Eleanor had been gone for almost 5 years now. Since then, the house had become painfully quiet. Most mornings followed the same routine. Harold made himself oatmeal, watered the flowers Eleanor had planted years ago, read the newspaper, and watched the neighborhood slowly wake up. He waved to people when they passed. Most waved back. Few stopped. His children lived in different states, and while they called every Sunday, weeks often passed without Harold speaking to another person face to face. Still, he never complained. He simply thanked God for another day. One Monday morning, Harold walked into the kitchen carrying a basket of laundry. As he reached for the counter, his foot caught the edge of a small rug. Everything happened in seconds. He stumbled, lost his balance, and crashed hard onto the kitchen floor. Pain shot through his hip. He tried to stand, but couldn't. His phone sat charging on the living room table, far beyond his reach. He called out once, then again. Only silence answered. Minutes turned to nearly an hour. Harold began wondering if anyone would find him before nightfall. For the first time in years, he was afraid. Across the street, someone new was unpacking boxes. Emily Carter had moved into the neighborhood only 2 days earlier with her husband Daniel and their 8-year-old daughter Lily. Lily noticed the little blue house immediately. "I wonder who lives there?" she asked. Emily smiled. "Maybe we should introduce ourselves." That afternoon, they baked chocolate chip cookies together. Nothing fancy, just warm cookies on a white plate wrapped in a kitchen towel. Emily laughed. "My grandmother always said neighbors become family if someone is willing to knock first." As she walked across the street, she almost turned around. "What if I'm bothering him?" she thought. But something inside whispered, "Go anyway." She knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Still nothing. Just as she started walking back down the porch steps, she heard it. A faint voice. "Help!" Emily froze. She rushed back to the door. "Hello? Is someone inside?" Another weak response. "Please." Without hesitation, she called 911. The dispatcher instructed her to stay near the door until emergency responders arrived. Within minutes, firefighters entered through the back of the house. They found Harold lying on the kitchen floor. The paramedic later told Emily something she would never forget. "If you'd waited another hour, this could have ended very differently." Harold spent several days recovering in the hospital. When he returned home, there was another knock at the door. Standing there was Emily, Daniel, little Lily, and another plate of cookies. Harold smiled for the first time in weeks. "I guess I owe you more than a thank you." Lily grinned. "We'll pay you back by telling us stories." Harold laughed. "I've got plenty of those." That single afternoon changed all of their lives. Every Friday became dinner night. Harold taught Lily how to plant tomatoes in the backyard. Daniel fixed things around Harold's house that had been broken for years. Emily brought over homemade soup whenever she cooked too much. On Christmas morning, there was no empty table anymore. Harold had family again. Not by blood, but by kindness. Months later, Harold told Emily something she'd never known. "I almost didn't answer when I heard your voice." Emily looked surprised. "You heard me?" He nodded. "I thought maybe I was imagining it." Then he smiled. "But I think God knew I needed a neighbor before I knew your name." Emily reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "And I think he knew we needed you too." Sometimes miracles don't arrive in impossible circumstances. Sometimes they're disguised as warm cookies, a simple hello, or a neighbor who chooses to knock instead of walking away. You never know how one small act of kindness might completely change someone else's life, or your own. If this story touched your heart, would you do two things? First, subscribe so you don't miss next week's Everyday Miracle. And second, tell us in the comments, has a stranger's kindness ever changed your life? We'd love to read your story, because sometimes the smallest knock on a door becomes the biggest blessing of all.